I collect a lot of feathers. People now send me feathers in the mail. I have a lot of real feathers. And I have a lot of fun feathers from the craft store because in my birds, when I put my pieces in the League of New Hampshire Craftsmen shows, they don't want real bird feathers. They want craft feathers, so I use craft feathers for those. But real bird feathers are fun, and I decided I wanted to. I've collected a lot of these turkey feathers. We have 3 groups of turkeys that come through the yard in this location, and my dogs find the feathers more than I find them. So I decided I wanted to kind of do a replica in the rug hooking of kind of these feathers, and that's what I'm working on over here. Usually if I have a big project going like the eagle, I like to, this type of work can be a little bit tedious and boring, and I like to work with color so much. My real thing is color and textures. So I want something going over here where I can just sit in my chair, look at the birds, and do some fun things. So this feather will have a lot of texture in it. I've been trying some of this stuff. I don't know what it's called, but a yarn of some sort that has lots of browns in it. So this will continue to fill in with the feather. But in the background, what I've been using the past 6 months or year, a lot of is hand-dyed yarns. And I'm finding that I really like the texture of hand-dyed yarns. So this green is mostly all, well, it is, here it is, a hand-dyed local Vermont yarn from a mill right in town. And then the blue is this blue, which is hand-dyed as well. So I'm adding this in to my, my dyed wools for the blue. And I just think that the texture can be quite a nice interest alongside the wool. This is a bird that I've been working on, an eagle, and it started from a couple visits to Vin's, which is in Quechee, Vermont. It's the Owl and Raptor Center, and I saw a couple eagles there, got some photos, and met a gentleman who did photos of birds. So I got excited about doing an eagle, also about owls, because there were a lot of owls there. So my owl series kind of was inspired from that visit to the Owl Festival. Usually what I do is I plan out a drawing. I just sketch roughly either on tracing paper or sometimes right on the linen. And I just play with it with a big pencil, a big kind of children's kindergarten pencil, and get the lines on there. I can erase on here a little bit, and then I just go from there. I don't put a lot of detail into my drawing. I may start with I do a lot of 6 by 8 size birds, and sometimes I'll start with just the head of the bird on a little 6 by 8 space. So I can get a feel for what colors I'm going to use, what the bird's eye looks like, and how it's going to be set with the background, what I'm going to do for the background. The thing about the eagle is getting the eye just right, and I've worked it once. I'll probably go back and work it again, and getting the beak just right. So I'm at that process where I've got some in, and I'll just continue tweaking it as I go along. Oh, this is going to have a big fish in it too. His claw's going to be out, and he's going to be holding a fish. And it probably will have a very bright background because this will be so much of the dark browns and blacks that a background will be fun to play with on it. I also have some new material here I'm working with from a local fiber mill. And this is some kind of spun fiber, but I think it'll be interesting. I put in a little bit to see how it would look, and I think it'd be kind of interesting as a texture for this bird. Here's a couple others that are here. You know, I may use something like this for texture. It just depends on what the color is and the tone, and here's a gray one. So these are different kind of fun fur materials that will add a little bit. I do this at the end. I may put in a little piece here and there to see how I like it, but I really put in all my finishing things at the end, including the feathers. Feathers are the last part of the bird. So I raise this part, I hook it and high. This is about well, I'd say an inch, inch and a half. And then I go back and I sculpt this thing 2 or 3 times. So I take the scissors and work it up and down and get it just where I want it before the texture goes in. So what I'm working on right now with this eagle is putting in the kind of the feathers, but the raised area. And what I've been trying to do is find lots of different shades of brown so I can make his his feathers kind of stand out a little bit, even though they're raised. And then I will put real feathers in at the end. And I had someone gave me this photo, a photographer, a friend of mine, and I'm trying to kind of look at the way the light hits them and see if I can get some light and dark areas. So what I do when I raise it, I do raise quite high. It's not really hoving, I call it kind of something different, Sandy's version of hoving. But I put it in, and you can see that's about 2 inches. So I'll bring it down to about 1 inch, at least an inch, inch and a half in this middle area, and just pull it up. So it's got a real pull to it, because this middle part I want to be the highest area when I go to sculpt it and cut it down. It probably takes about 3 times sculpting it to get it where I want it. And it's a mess. There's a mess everywhere. I try and do it outside. So then I take the loops, and I probably would wait and do a whole big group of loops, and then I cut it, because sometimes you can't see them after if it's all one color. And that's pretty much how I do it. I try and get any whites in first, and then what I will do with this piece is take some saran wrap, cover the white part as I go into more and more darks, otherwise it'll kind of flow up into the whites, and I don't want that to happen. I have a little bit of a carpal tunnel and shoulder problem, so I want it to be as easy as possible. This is probably about a 5 cut, and I like a 4 or 5 cut. I can't really hook with big wide strips because of the shoulder problem. And years ago, my first teacher was Jackie Hansen, and Jackie taught me how to do hoving. That's what I loved from the first day I took classes. I didn't start with just hooking regular pieces. I learned hoving first day at rug hooking school. But what I also learned from Jackie was that a bent hook is a little more ergonomically better for you. So I happen to have right here one of my favorite hooks, very used and very inexpensive hook, but it has quite a long bend on it. So sometimes I buy a straight hook, and I also use a very fine hook. I don't use fat hooks. These seem to work best for me. And I bend them myself if I can't find them. So that's the type of hook I use, and the way I like to hook. I also hold it in this manner as Jackie taught me. She had just been through PT when I had the classes with her, and PT said, do it this way, so her shoulder or arm would survive. So those are just little tips that I learned.